Hi there and welcome to Transcona Trailer Sales. Today we'll be walking you through your 2015 Palomino Solaire 147X. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice in the back here, you do got your spare tire. And then of course you do have a toy lock, which the previous customer did install. It's just a retractable toy lock, exactly what it sounds. Again, customer left it on there for you. And then of course, this is a hybrid camper, so these front and back beds do fold out. They both do work the same way, so I am just going to show you the back one instead of doing the back and the front, just to save on time. So you just have to unhook those arms like so, but then allow that to start folding down. You can see it start coming down. It does just sit on its travel cables. So then next, you do have to hook up the outside part of the Velcro for this here, so you can have a nice seal. Just hooking up that Velcro all the way around, front and back. Like I said, this is going to be the same to the front as well. Then you can hook up this back side. That all latches into it like so. Again, the same thing for the outside, for this side. Just making sure that Velcro is tight on there. Then we will finish the rest of this once we get inside. So you're gonna notice you got a sewer cap label here. This is where you're gonna want to store your sewer cap. Once it's used, we do have a brand new one located inside the front compartment, so I'll show you that when we get there. But this is typically where you're going to want to store it. Just keeps as much smell out of the unit as possible. This corner, as well as all four corners of the unit, you got stabilizer jacks. The way those works is you're just going to hook up the 3/4 inch drive tool, the 3/4 inch drive nut, run this foot down to the ground. Once the foot contacts the ground, just giving another 1/8 turn, just to snug it up. And it's going to take any bounce or sway you see we have in the unit right now away. One thing I'm going to mention, these are stabilizer jacks. They're not leveling jacks, so just keep that in mind. And if you're ever running a cordless impact, just watch with how much torque you're putting on them, as they are very easy to bend. Just one thing you got to keep in mind. You got your 2 cable satellite hookups here. You do have a little dump station light for when you're dumping at night. Getting to the dump station, take these 2 ears and sliding them off. You're just taking note of those 2 notches there. It's the same 2 notches your sewer hose are going to have. They just line up with the outlet like so. Screw into place and lock in once you tighten them. You got your black valve and your gray valve. You always want to empty your black valve first. This is your dirtiest water filled from your toilets. And then you can come behind that with your gray valve, which is typically a little cleaner water filled from your sinks and your showers. Fridge service port, not much you need to worry about there. Then this unit is equipped with a black tank flush. Caution sticker right up top. It's very important that you do have the black tank, the sewer connected, and the black tank valve open whenever you're using this black tank flush. Otherwise, you do run the risk of bursting your tank. Main 30 amp twist lock connection. You're just taking note of that notch there. It lines up with this notch on this side. Just lining those 2 up, 1/8 turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do have your standard 30 amp plug in. Most campsites should have this and you can plug right on in, but let's say you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge, or your campsite only has 15 amp service. We do include a 15 amp park adapter. Just keep it in mind when you're going down to 15 amps of power. It's not to run your air conditioner, it is really just to run your fridge and your lights. So just be mindful of that. Got your 2 low point drains right here down below the floor, and then you do have as well your fresh tank drain located on the back of this hose. Got your furnace exhaust, so whenever that's running, it's going to be blowing out hot air. And then you do got your little utility port here, twisting this cap off, opening up. That's to fill your fresh tank, and that's what your water pump draws off of. And then of course you do have your city water connection, so if you're out of site with service, you can thread a garden hose in there, turn it on. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the need to run your water pump. And then inside this compartment here is where we get that starter kit. Where you got that 10-foot sewer hose, you also get a 15-foot water hose, that 15-amp park adapter I've already told you about, and some other miscellaneous goodies. Around the front side of the unit, again, you got your front fold-out bed system, which is going to work the same way as the back. Then you got your two 20-pound propane tanks right at the front. Taking those, twisting those to unlock them, and most of the time you can get what you need done just by doing that. But just for the purpose of the video, I am just going to slide this right off. Right on the front of the regulator, on the top of the regulator, you're going to have a selector valve. So with it pointed this way, you're going to be dry off this tank. If this tank were to go dry, you can obviously flip it over to the other side and run that one while this one's getting filled. Counterclockwise all the way, just like your standard barbecue. Turn on the flow of propane. Got your battery box located right in the front, which is your 24 RV battery. Then on this side here, opening up this compartment, you do get that drive tool for those stabilizer jacks, which I've already told you about. Now you got your hot water steering support, flipping that guy open. The main thing you're going to want to worry about is whenever you first get to your campsite, giving this guy a pull. There should be a shot of water coming out of there, letting you know that the tank's full. Now we do have the unit summarized already, but I did drain all the tanks just because we're not sure when you're going to be using it next. So I went ahead and drained all this already. Then you got your 1/8" drain bolt right down here at the bottom. And then of course, if you're going to want to switch it over from gas to electric, there is a little on switch over here. So turning that switch on does take it off of gas and puts it onto electric. Gas is going to be a quicker way to heat the water, but electric is obviously going to be more efficient. Two 110 plug-ins right on the side of the trailer there. And then coming to your main entry door, open that guy up. You can pull on your steering, pull those guys out. One thing I forgot to mention on the side here, you got your range hood, little vent. Always when you get to your campsite, opening this guy up, allowing that range hood to evacuate fumes out of the unit. And then whenever you're traveling, snapping it back into place, and that's just stopping any excess dust from getting inside the unit. But taking a step inside, first thing you notice off on your left is going to be that fire extinguisher. It's just like home, pull the pin and shoot. Next, you got some lights. So living room lights, obviously turn on the living room lights. All the other lights are on their own center push buttons. Next to it, you do have a porch and a scare light, which turn on some exterior lights. You got your monitor tank system. It's going to show you have 3 gray tanks. You do, in fact, only have 1. You have 1 black and 1 gray. It's going to be hooked up to black one and gray one. Corresponding levels show up along with the rest of the other stuff here, the battery and the fresh. You got your water pump switch, turning that on does draw from your fresh tank. And then, of course, you got your water heater option, turning that on. So once you turn the switch on, if you're firing it on gas, the unit's going to try lighting itself 3 times. If on the 3rd try it doesn't light, this fault light's going to come on. At that point, you do just have to turn this button off, hit that reset button I showed you earlier, and then try turning this back on. And then it'll try resetting itself. You got your awning control. So obviously, if you hit the extend button, awning's going to extend. Once the awning's fully extended, you're going to see the back of another tube and a little flap hang down. Sometimes the flap can get stuck, so you do just have to retract it quick and bring it back in. Unfortunately, today, due to space, you won't be able to get the awning all the way out. That's about as far out as you want to go. Then retracting is as simple as holding that retract button, and obviously you start pulling in. Once the arms contact the side of the trailer, they'll automatically cut out. Now, if you're to roll this awning in while it's wet, it's always best at your next earliest convenience to roll it all the way out to allow it time to dry so it doesn't accelerate the growth of mold and mildew. Of course, you're always going to want to keep an eye on wind speed whenever you have it out because it does act as a wind sail. That's going to be it for this section here. Next, you got your back bed area. You got this little travel strap that holds your mattress in place. You can undo that. At that point, on the ledge here, you got your one support bar that you're going to want to take out. Set that right nearby next to you. Then take this bar that's down here inside the bed and start trying to flip it out. And at that point, with the other arm, you could take your other support beam, line it up with the center of that pole there, which you're going to see there's a nice little spot for it to click into, and just push out. Now taking this, pushing it with enough pressure, hooking it into that roof latch, which we have right there, and again, brings your bed out. Now you can just fold this mattress all the way out. And of course you do have Velcros on the inside here that you would have to do up first. And then you get your mattress out and fully extended. Storage down below. You also have a coax cable right here. Nice little light for its own bunk. Storage underneath. Right here, this is the controller for your furnace. Clicking this over all the way to the right is obviously its hottest setting, and that's going to fire up the furnace. The furnace does have 1 span speed. It's going to run constant. Anywhere before, far all the way to the right is a cooler setting, and then clicking it to the left turns it off. Whenever you turn it on and off, it's going to run for an additional 3 minutes just as an added safety feature to allow itself time to cool down. Then you got your little kitchen area. You got light on its own center push button. Storage up top. You got your microwave, which is pretty much just like home. Not much I'm going to show you there. Then you got your sink, hot and cold water. Again, just like home. Then you got your stove. Works pretty simple. Folding this up and back. Then you can get to your knobs. Turn it over to the high/light option, and that fires it on up. Now I'm going to go into a little bit of a conversation about propane. Because this runs off propane and the furnace also runs off propane, we do have an LP detector located right here. Oh, sorry, it's not under here. I was wrong. It's located right here near the ground. If this guy ever starts going off, you're just getting to worrisome levels inside the unit. Don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane at the front of the unit and open up some windows and vents to ventilate it out a little bit. And another thing I'm going to mention is very sensitive to cleaning chemicals, so just keep that in mind as well. Now, if you've had the propane off in the unit for a while, it allows air into the system. Sometimes it can take a few minutes to purge all the air out of the line. So if you've had the propane system off, first thing I recommend doing once you turn on that propane is just firing up your stove, allowing it to bleed out that system. It just helps for when you go to light something like your furnace or your water heater, which is a little more finicky. It's only going to try lighting itself a few times, so it could throw a fault code. So again, just lighting that quick to get the stove to light. Fortunately, no automated burner, but you just turn it over to the pilot option, push and hold it in. Hold your lighter right around the gas orifice in the back there. Probably hard to see right now. And eventually it would light. And then once the pilot's able to hold its own, you can let off, turn it up to your desired temperature, and it would fire right on up. Got your main fuse and breaker panel right below that, so whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. Then you got all your corresponding fuses on your right. Again, storage all around. Inside here, you do have your bathroom. Pretty standard and simple. Light switch on the right. Hot and cold water, of course. Toilet, flusher on the right in front center. Now you come into your little entertainment area, which is pretty much just like home, minus the fact of having A, B, and C speakers. C speakers aren't actually hooked up to anything. B is going to be your exterior speakers. A is going to be your interior speakers. Other than that, standard stereo system, just like home. On the wall here, you're going to see you got your satellite and your coax hookups. Turning this on does turn that red light on. That does turn the antenna on the roof. It also improves radio frequency and cell phone frequency, so I typically leave them on once you get to your campsite, and always turning them off before you leave because you don't want to be drawing too much power off that battery. Then you got your Dometic fridge and freezer. The controls for that are just hooked up here. Obviously, the further you slide this fin up that aluminum, the further you slide the plastic piece up the aluminum coil, the colder it is going to get. Controls are right up here. Turning that on, if you're on auto, it's going to first search for shore power. Once shore power is taken away, it'll automatically switch over to gas. If you want it to run solely on gas, you do just have to depress that button, and it'll automatically flip over to gas. If this check light were to be on, it's just telling you that it failed to light on gas, so you'd have to go and look into that. Now into the main kind of little space here. You got your dinette, which is currently set up as a tables eating space. You could flip this into another bed if you wanted. You just had to flip these table legs in, set your tabletops on your ledges here. Then you could take your back cushions to fill in the center, and you'd have yourself another bed. Located underneath this here, if you lift this piece of plywood out of the way, it does give you access to your water pump for winterization. And then of course this false panel here with your 2 screws. Removing those 2 screws will allow you to pull this panel out of the way. It gives you access to the back of the water heater for summerization or winterization. Main GFI plug right here near my feet, right beside the LP detector. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd check. You got reset in the middle, test on the right. And then you got your front bed space, which I've already gone over in the back. It does set up the same way. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.